everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Phyllis, and here on my channel I share DIYs, home decor, Goodwill, thrift hauls, and more. And if this is your first time stopping by, thank you, and please consider subscribing. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, and I would love to read your comments. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. In today's video, I will be sharing with you how I recreated my own version of the Restoration Hardware sculptured horse. This is the full body, not just the head, or just a sculptured horse, using a toy horse that I purchased from a thrift store in the summer of 2020. And these are just Pinterest inspirations, and I copied this exact one. I just opted out of inserting the dowel, which I could have, but I didn't want to after I got through painting it. Now this is the toy horse that I purchased from a thrift store in Jacksonville, again, of summer of 2020, and I got it for $7.99. Now I held on to it for this long because I was trying to figure out in my mind how to do this, and I saw a video where Heidi Sunball, she did a horse sculpture using the paint and baking powder mixture that I see a lot of people doing, and that's what I used to do this horse. Now here I am combing out the mane and the tail, which in the end was a waste of time because I ended up cutting both the mane and the tail off because, again, I was trying to copy the process that Heidi Sunball used. She painted the baking powder or baking soda mixture of the paint and the baking soda mixture on the tail and sculpted it and let it dry overnight, and it just didn't work out for me. So again, I ended up cutting off the mane and the tail. Now here in the beginning, the paint colors I chose was this brown and this off-white. When I painted it on the night before and let it dry, I didn't like the finished look. It gave a peachy color, and I was trying to get either tan or something off-white, and that didn't work. So I came back the next morning and I mixed gray and off-white to give it a light gray color, and you'll see where I will be covering this up. But here it is again. I'm using the initial colors that I put together, the brown and the off-white, and here in the bowl it looks tan. But again, when it dried up, it looked peach, and I was not a fan of that. But also keeping in mind, when I brushed the mixture onto the horse, I made sure to go with the flow of the form of the horse. Like when I did the belly, I would go across. When I did the hind part of it, I would take the brush going back or down. The front of it, I would go down. The head or the face, I would go from the forehead or top of the head to the nose. I just didn't go willy-nilly painting the paint mixture onto the horse because the brush strokes, when it dried, you could see it. So I wanted to kind of give it a neat sculptured look. Again, this was my first time ever using the baking soda paint mixed, and I used what I had on hand. I didn't have to spend any money, and I was not going to paint the eyes, but I decided to anyway. Now here again, I'm painting the tail, putting the cement mixture or powder baking soda mixture, which ends up looking like cement. And when I went to try and, I don't know, form some curls, I guess, for it to dry hard, I just didn't like the way it looked. So you'll see coming up, I ended up just cutting off the mane and the tail all together. Now here it is the next day. It dried, and again, I just didn't like the peach color of what it looked like when it dried. Now I do like the breakup of how some parts is not fully covered, kind of gives that sculptured look. When I do give it the new color, I end up covering all that, but I end up using sandpaper to kind of scrape some of the paint off to give that concrete, worn, rustic look. Here is the paint color mixture of the gray and the off-white, the pewter, gray pewter, and this is acrylic paint that I bought from Walmart. And here it is. I mixed it in the bowl, and it again gave it peanut butter texture, and doing the same thing here, just painting it on to the horse in the flow of how the horse is made. The belly, I go from side to side. The neck, I go down. The hind part, I go in the curve of the hind part and down to the leg, and the same thing here because again, when it dries, you see the brush strokes. But I'll let you all continue. Well, not yet. Let me just explain what's coming up here. Here is some hair. Since I cut the mane and tail, this is some hair that I had on hand, you know, that I would wear when I had hair on my head as a ponytail. It came to my mind to get some of this because it is on the, it's already sewed onto like a band. I used this and I dipped it in the gray paint and I twirled it to make a ponytail, like you would if those knew how to twirl the hair around your original ponytail. Of course, I cut his tail off and didn't have anything to wrap it around, but I still twirled it around, and I'll be showing that to you once I start painting it. And I'm sorry I got out of frame, but here I'm just combing it out with my fingers to detangle it. But I put it here in a bowl and I already twisted it into a ponytail. I'm going to use the glue gun to close the piece. Whereas if we put it on our head, you know how we use the bobby pin to close it? Well, I'm going to use a glue gun to just close the piece to make it a ponytail. And here I am putting the baking powder, gray color mixture piece onto it to cover the entire ponytail, the entire tail. And then when I put it on, I'll end up just, you won't see I do this part. I didn't record doing this part, but I, you know, cut some of the tail so it's not hanging too long. And after I get through cutting it, I go separating it again with my fingers, keeping it wrapped into a ponytail. And then I put glue on the inside of the end that is going to be pressed to the behind part of the horse. And I'll be showing you a picture of that where you'll see the clump of glue, but I'll be able to cover that up. And here it is. This is where I'm showing you. I spin the ponytail around, and then I took just a piece of it and wrapped it around this piece right here and just kept wrapping it around to keep it from unwinding. And then when it got to the end, I put some glue from a glue stick, using my glue gun to close it so it wouldn't come loose. And then where my thumb is up there, that's where I put the glue to glue it to the hind part of the horse. And here I'm just again untangling it so it can hang, because once it dries hard. So I'm doing what I can to get it to look like I want it to look before it actually dries hard. Now here I'm just fitting it just to make sure I got it in the right position and that the tail is hanging like I want and hanging as long as I want. And this is where I glued it. I used that adhesive and the glue gun, and that adhesive comes from the Dollar Tree. And you see all the glue that's there. I ended up covering all of that with the paint because this horse is going to end up being a black gray color in the end, and you won't even see all of that. But I like the way this turned out, and I was going to glue some on the mane, but after looking at the inspiration I saw on Pinterest, I like the way it ended up looking. I just kind of touched it up with some paint, black and gray, to match the tail. In the end, I love the way this turned out. Now here, I wanted it a little darker, so I just mixed, and I'll be showing you that. I mixed some gray, black, or not mixed, but I put in gray, black, and white, or off-white dollops of paint on a paper plate. And I dip and I kind of sort of paint and stipple the colors onto, just layering it until I got the horse to look like an actual concrete sculptured horse. So that's all I'm doing here, is just layering it a little bit at a time. And it took me about an hour to get it the way I want it to look. Here I'm just stippling in on some white, and then if I got too much in one area, all I did was stipple on another color to kind of cover up the white. So it's almost like you really can't make a mistake, because you can just cover it up and start over again. Now what I did notice is after I put so much paint on top of each other, it started losing that concrete effect and started looking smooth and shiny. So you'll see further down in the video when I used a piece of sandpaper to just kind of scuff it up because it started looking too smooth. Again, I wanted this to look like the inspiration, which was a concrete sculptured horse. And again, I said I could have put it on the dowel because I do have the tools. I do have the hot iron, is what some people call it, that I could have put through the belly and painted the dowel and put it up there, but I just didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to mess up, take any chance of messing up what I've already done. And here you see where I put some black, and I, looking in my camera, I saw where it was too much, so I kind of just toned it down a little, and I just kept going on top of each other, gray, black, and white, until I got the look that I want. Now you'll see here it's a little darker, and then further up you'll see where it got darker, and I finally get it to where I wanted to look. Now what I discovered is, you know how some women use the brush to highlight the cheekbones and contour? That's what I started doing here with the horse. Any place there was a round hump or bump, I would take the brush and kind of accent on that. Here it is all completed, and I love the way it came out. But I started contouring around the bones of the face and around the legs, the muscles of the horse, to kind of bring out those parts of the horse so it can give more of a 3D effect and not look just all flat. But I love the way this turned out. And because I painted over the eyes, I couldn't see the eyes. You'll see where, and the nostrils, you'll see where I took the sandpaper and kind of just sanded in there to kind of bring the nostril and the eyes back into form to give it a 3D look. So here's where I took the sandpaper, and this is just a scrap piece of sandpaper that I had, and I just lightly kind of just brushed off some paint and kind of just scraped to kind of give it a ruined look and that concrete look, and it did help, and I like what that did. So I basically went around any place that was a curve or where I wanted the form of the horse to show or to come out, to stand out, to give it a 3D effect. And then after this, I'll be making the stand from some wood that I had in my garage, and I'll just be painting it black with some acrylic black paint. Again, I could have used the dowel, but I just didn't want to take any chances of putting a hole in the bottom of the horse and messing it up. I just ended up putting some the adhesive and some cement, clear adhesive, on the 3 feet that touch the wood. And this is the wood I'm painting to make it a stand, to glue the horse permanently to this, to kind of mimic what my Pinterest inspirations were. So I hope you all enjoyed watching me recreate my version of the Restoration Hardware sculptured horse. And I want to thank you all for stopping by.